You are watching Omnis Protocol, and I am Charles, also known as Omnis. And for this particular episode, we're going to still cover a Veers build, but I want to do something just a little bit different. I think it's important to not just get like one individual thing for these various primaries who haven't been on the channel before, but try to shake things up a little bit. See a little different list composition, a little different matchup. So in this particular one, it's still going to be Gideon and Veers, but it is versus Riff and Asajj Ventress. Now, what I changed about my Veers list is I was actually playing a version that was suggested by Pure, LVO champion Pure, where he was thinking, what if the shore troopers are reserved and they go up right away and they have the bonus defense dice, and how many of your characters can move them onto points early, so you have like some bonus defenses on like steadfast protection units, and how does that all play out? It's a little less choreographed in the sense that you don't get to guarantee that you take all the points, but I thought it'd be interesting to give it a try, and I really want to like shore troopers. Now, Donovan is bringing the Riff box with Asajj Ventress, Django, and Weequay Pirates. One of the cool things about this, also do not have a video for Asajj Ventress on the channel, so it is definitely interesting to at least get her on here, see how this plays out. And I think if you're like itching to play Asajj Ventress, I think this version is probably where I would start. Like if she's gonna be good, I have a strong feeling that like this or some like slight variation on it is a good chance of like where she would work best. So let's go ahead and dive right into the video, shall we? So, same table as before, but ended up switching sides. So I'm playing from the top. Donovan is playing from the bottom. I did win priority on this one as well. And, but I believe we both were bringing shifting priorities, but I did win priority. So looking at this, I will admit there's a degree of like, I'm almost immediately a little nervous about like not being able to take enough points. So as you can see here, we did go ahead and reserve the shore troopers, which gives them the dash forwards. And because of this, I'm like, instead of activating them right away, the idea is that you're just kind of pulling the other card, hoping that it's not Death Troopers, and basically everyone else can be moving shore troopers up onto the point. Gideon is probably the second worst pull. I think you prefer DTE or Veers, potentially, is probably your best picks. Sergeant is solid, but you're dealing them a damage. But Gideon is certainly okay. You're really just probably hoping to not get the Death Troopers. So here, utilizing the free dash, and that moves a short trooper up onto the point, onto the middle. So the reason why I ended up putting the short trooper on the middle, because I really could have moved either one, but I was thinking here, I didn't want Gideon ganged up on in the middle. Like, he's a primary, but he is certainly not the most tanky primary in the world. And so I was a little nervous if like both sides could go after him, that it could be worse. But I could see the argument for flipping, because Gideon doesn't really suffer any consequences for being wounded, where maybe you want to keep the shore troopers active longer. So I could absolutely see the argument to like switch that up. Yeah. So the thing here is just like, are the shore troopers going to be able to live? They get a bonus defense die from Veers for being in reserve, which is not really something I showcased much on the last video. So we're gonna see exactly how this plays out. He ends up pulling Weequay Pirates first, which I think is an absolutely solid pick for him. I think he is happy to get to utilize them, get Riff moving up the board more. So yeah, he's starting off with their climb ability. I forget the actual name of it. And then a move action. I believe the plan here is that he would like to gang up on my poor short trooper. So right there's a ladder. You can kind of see it. I have attached a ladder to that particular high ground. So he goes down the ladder. And so they're going to gang up on my poor short trooper, and they're going to get bonus melee dice. Because that's how weak weight work. Yeah, so I go base 4 up to 5 melee, so not great. I get 3 blocks, which is really as good as I could hope for. But Weak Weight Pirate is still going to go 3 down, which I think is pretty average for them. They're rolling 8 dice in this case, 2 fails. If they just roll absolutely average successes, they're going to still go 3 down. Yeah, so now he's going to end up with 7 hits. And I end up with 3 blocks again, so this one's going to go 4 down. And that is perfectly enough to wound them right away. I think it would be very easy for like perfectly average dice for them to live on 1. But it's probably not worse than a coin flip for that second attack to get a kill on them. So I'm already immediately feeling like the bonus die was not worth it, and I was wishing that I was doing the ISF plan. So he scores 2, which is not awful. It did force him to use the weak way to kind of gang up on the middle. And obviously knowing that the weak way were going next, I think there's definitely a world there where it should have been Gideon on the middle. Because they are obviously not going to kill Gideon. It would conserve me health on the shore troopers. So while I was talking about it a little earlier, I think now knowing this, yeah, definitely would have preferred to have Gideon in the middle now. So I pull Death Trooper Escort. Would have certainly preferred him as the first pull, but you definitely can't hope for that when you're playing for the short trooper plan. This obviously would be significantly better if there was a world where I had like a living short trooper to move around. Would have been really nice. Just realized that I forgot to get out my force. Donovan was nice enough to allow me to still play with force. So here what I'm thinking is get damage on the weak ways, and then decide where I'm going to end up moving the Death Trooper Escort to afterwards. I kind of wanted to wait and utilize his other movement later on, maybe potentially see if I can save a force, but I'm realizing that I get +2 dice if I spend the force for it now. The list can't afford to do it, so I might as well take the shots. So far he's done the free dash on himself, and now he's spent a force for an additional dash and then focus. Weak way are going to end up with 3 blocks. I think he's pretty happy with that. Expertise becomes 2 hits. I remove a bunch of fails. Looks like I'm still going to go 3 down. Here I'm thinking normally you're like, oh, you're just shoving them, but they're steadfast. I'm not taking the point anyway. But I still might want shoves for my own movement. So here what I'm trying to figure out is because I end up, I believe I got a dash from expertise, if I recall. And so I was wondering if I can still utilize the supporting fire dash and utilize the dash from, from the expertise. And that is just seeming kind of unlikely. and there's just not going to be able to get both, so it's fine. Just want to utilize that if I can. So first shove, I just shove myself forward. Second shove, I shove him and then follow up. And then I have a dash. So this is the free dash from the expertise now. So there's an interesting question here as like, which point should I go after with that DTE? I have concerns about putting my team putting DTE directly in front of him, and the ability for him to get ganged up on by anything. Or if I want to take the back point and just be in a more defensive position. I elected to take the point from him. And you could argue that was a mistake, and I should have gone after the middle. Especially here, he pulls Aquas, which is really basically a perfect pull for him here. I can't, it would be this or Shatterpoint. I don't think anything else would get nearly as much done as what he's doing here. Yeah, so here, this means that, I think there's potentially a world where if I had gone after the side point, then I wouldn't have to be in melee range of an Aqua. And that would certainly be welcome here. But yeah, Donovan's Aquas have punched me in the face a great many times, so I'm very worried about this activation in the moment. Also, we're going to find, I think the exact positioning that I chose for the Death Trooper escort was also a mistake. So let's see. I only ended up with 2 blocks. I definitely would have liked more there. He's going to go 3 down. So he does 4 damage, a shove, and a dash. And this is where the mistake comes in. He's realizing I can just reposition to get back on that point. And so he decides to dash off of it. The problem with my positioning was that I should have positioned on the edge of the gantry towards the middle so that he couldn't have shoved me off that direction. He would have had to shove me towards the middle. In which case, if I had done that, then I could have repositioned to block him from taking that point since he wasn't getting to the top level. But looking at it from here, it does not seem like I'm going to be able to reposition and be on that point. I believe we adjusted in just a moment. We realized where the objective is at on the gantry is a little too close to me. It should be a little, there we go. Yeah, it should be a little bit more towards the middle of that gantry. Definitely agree that I'm probably not going to get there. So I still just elect to spend for it and move on to that point to try to help hold it. So now you got the Aqua Droid who is going to punch poor Gideon, who is probably not going to be able to stay on that point. This is why this is just such a perfect draw for Donovan, and he's playing it basically perfectly. Here we're just going, making sure that my positioning of the Death Trooper across the table was still within one of the ingress point, which is, you could have a hard time seeing it on the camera. It's kind of between the gantry and that ledge that's sticking out in the L shape. 2 blocks. I'm enjoying having 2 blocks on both of my defense rolls this turn. Yeah. I'm going to go 4 down the tree. I believe it's 4 damage. pin, dash, some recovers. So now, I think, so in the moment, Donovan had said that he made a mistake, and I wasn't sure what it was in the moment. Now looking back, I think there was probably a world where he could have positioned the Aqua to the other side of Gideon and shoved Gideon towards his back line and potentially set up for Riff to also attack him. And so I do think there was even a better play for him there. I'm contemplating, like, is this a moment where I want to get the shore troopers back in the action, or if there's a better activation here? And I believe what I'm thinking, this is still not the right time for the shore troopers. I'm just not, like, what are they going to do? Like, they're going to go gang up on the Aqua? And I pulled Death Troopers here. I'm pretty fine with this activation. I know I can at least take 1 point, and I can get some damage, maybe even kill the Weequay, who have already been softened up. And so yeah, I'm pretty solid with this activation. It's always interesting when you get so used to playing against revenge lists, and then you're like, oh, I can actually kill something without consequences? Am I even playing Shatterpoint anymore? So yeah, it's definitely interesting when you play one of these, like, we both have, like, our tricks, but we don't necessarily, like, directly counter. Like, you could argue that, like, I have the most revengey trigger in, like, the Death Trooper escorts, like, reverse movement. So first thing we're doing is we're spending the focus for the bonus dash. What I'm kind of mathing out here is, like, am I trying to leave a guy on the middle point? Am I trying to have them both on the side point? What exactly is the plan? And I believe what I want to do here is that I do want to end up with one of my guys on the middle because there's just Riff there. And so this is an interesting situation where if, depending on how, like, if he had shoved Gideon in such a way that Riff attacks him, that maybe there is a world where Riff wouldn't be on that point. But since Riff jumps on, like, 2, there's a pretty good chance that Riff would have ended up in that point either way. But I think I still want to have a guy on the middle point so that if Riff moves away, I can take control of it. It also spreads around the supporting fire dash, which I think is really helpful. But there's also an argument to just try to hold a point. Like, it gets kind of risky when you're thinking about, like, putting a character in a position to just help you down the road, and you just don't know if the game is going to play out that way. So here we're going to roll, I believe, 9 dice into a Weequay. Good block from the Weequay, still going to be 3 blocks. I remove 2 fails, and then I remove 2 hits. And so I believe I'm just going to go 3 down. So it'll be 4 damage and pin. So that does get me a wound. I am wondering if I miscounted how many hits I should have removed in that particular one. So Death Trooper is now going to shoot at the Aqua. I know I'm not going to, like, kill him, but I was just thinking, like, maybe I soften him up. And I rolled 6 expertise. Yeah. So I literally do nothing but, like, get a dash. Because it's just, like, the expertise didn't result in enough, and Aquas have crit down. So, Yeah. So yeah, not like if that attack had been into the weak way to finish them off, if I did mess that up, it would not have changed the game state at all. And so now they're just doing move action. This is again, what I was noticing about this particular gantry and how it was set up and like where that box is at, it made me do some really interesting things with where I was placing characters, with where I thought it was like most awkward to shove them. Where a lot of the time your instinct is to kind of like be right on the point, but if I was right on the point in this one, like felt like there was just a lot of situations that I was gonna be easy to shove off. All right. So we're just kind of like trading 3-point scores. All right, and now Asajj comes up. I'm immediately kind of scared for my poor Death Trooper's life right now. There's definitely some thought process because she has some crazy play potential. If she could potentially be in a position where she could maybe like leap forward or advance forward and shove the like force push the Death Trooper escort backwards and then jump back and like kill the DTE, that's probably the most effective play. But I don't know how feasible all of that is. I think that's what he's thinking about right now. I think there's a world where I would still go for it. The problem here is that he's going to be pretty low on force unless he gets the kill. And he still has to get a fair amount of damage down. I forget with Asajj whether her Makashi side has a pin. So now I'm curious, and I'm going to have to check. Because if there's a world where she could come back and then like shove DTE off and pin him, that would be really strong as well. Nope, no pin there. Hard to get enough damage. Yeah, she pretty much. Yeah, her only pin is if she goes 5 down on the main tree. So, all right. So she's going to spend a force to jump, hit the ladder over there, and she's having a hard time standing still. Going to go ahead and punch him. One more dice from Riptide. Remove some fails. I end up with 3 blocks, pretty average. So gonna go 4 down. This is pretty good for me. Like, obviously, if he goes 1 more down, he can just kill me. There's a world there because I believe he spent a force to jump. I think there's a world where he could have focused for that. And if that one other die yielded a success, he would kill me. But I don't know if there was a thought process where there was something specific he wanted out of the movement. Yeah. So here he was asking like whether or not he has the force push angle, and I was like, oh, I'm totally gonna, yeah, I believe that you have it. Here we're just debating, does he take the pure damage route or the damage and conditions? If he could do 6 damage reduced to 5, which won't kill me, or he can do 3 damage, 3 conditions. I think right here is where he realizes that he could have focused for an additional die. Here we're just resolving the force push now. Okay. So now that the attack is resolved, right, this force push was free as part of the attack. So now I'm like, all right, I think I just moved back onto the point. So because I'm not pinned, I do have to take the strain damage, will still put me to 1, which means that basically it was, instead of me taking 5 damage, no conditions, I still am taking 5 damage with disarm and expose. But it's going to protect the point. So we were kind of having a conversation here of like, do you not take the free force push so that you could do it afterwards before my trigger to move back on? And I'll be totally honest with you, almost every time I play DTE, he just dies or gets pinned. And so I very rarely get to utilize this ability. So there's a part of me that is like questioning in the moment of like, am I actually able to move from this? I'm like, am I actually going to be able to use this ability like twice in a row? Is just crazy to me. So it does mean that I'm protecting the point there. But I feel like this situation has happened to me like the last time that I played Asajj as well, where I hit the free force push, but I believe I was facing off against a revenge list, and the problem was I was going to kill someone, and then someone else was going to move on to the point, and then I needed a force push after that. And so like I couldn't use the force push in advance. And so like I still ended up having to spend for the force push anyway. I think it probably would have been better for Ventress to go after the Death Trooper up there. It would have been a more reliable take a point, and she has a pretty good chance of killing him. But so this is probably the first moment in the game where I felt like maybe I could get like legitimately ahead. I was very nervous up to that point. I think that was like finally having an opening. Where maybe I could get ahead in the game. And it was very sad for me to have it be happening at like Asajj's expense. So I pull Shatterpoint, which also like, all right, this, if I have any chance to make a big swing here, this would be it. And so now looking at the table, the question is like, okay, can I take 2 points here? I have a legit chance to like make a play on this. Who can get it done? Problem here is that I didn't do any damage to the Aquas, and Riff is on the middle and an Aqua's on the side. Can I even take 2 points? Is that even feasible? Because with the Shore Troopers dead, I'm also worried about just piling up on the middle and shifting. I'm definitely contemplating Veers here. I think there's probably the most interesting potential. But to be entirely honest, I don't remember who I activated. There's no like interesting play with like DTE. Gideon can't really like, I guess actually, so in retrospect, I don't think this is what I did. What I should have done here is have Gideon, so he's pinned, but the free dash would move the dash. He advances the Death Trooper escort, or the normal Death Trooper, onto the point. He walks down, or dashes down, shoves Riff off the point, then supporting fire dashes himself up the point, and I could have scored 4. And I don't think I saw that until like right this second. So that would have been a pretty cool play. Man, past Omnis, not as cool as Omnis with like top-down view of the table. I think I do Veers here, but I think Gideon was the right play, and I just didn't see that. There is a world where I could dash the Sergeant further forward. Yeah, this ended up being like a super, because there's so many interesting things on Veers' card. I know he's like a very maligned character overall, but there's like a free dash for a Stormtrooper or a Empire secondary, right? There's potentially dashing a Stormtrooper and giving them a shot. There's like the bomb at the end. So we end up dashing a Death Trooper escort over there, and then he's going to walk forward. Or not Death Trooper escort, just Death Trooper. Now we're going to take a shot at Riff. Looks like Riff has 2 blocks. I believe it's just going to be 3 damage and a shove. Following up. And then supporting fire dash. To kind of get up on the point. And so here's what I'm thinking about the bomb. And I think I take too much time thinking about this, but this is literally my only second this is only my second game with Veers. So I'm trying to figure out like what is the best way to like get value out of the bomb. And the reality is like all things said and done, there just isn't a way to do it. Anything that I do is kind of like, the problem with Veers' bomb is that every situation just feels like it's potentially just helpful for him if I give his model a dash. So I'm thinking here that I would choose that objective. The problem is, as soon as I'm like thinking about that, is that it would just mean that he could dash towards the middle and block that point, or go and take the back point. I'm like, God damn it. I was really trying to find a way to like showcase his ability on camera. And so, yeah, that's what we're kind of discussing at the moment, is like, is there a way for me to even like utilize this in a positive fashion? My first thought there was, can I make, like, is he close enough where he can't like get off the gantry? But I was like, oh, that's how shoves work, not how gantries you can advance and like choose to go down. So that doesn't, and I believe that he would end up being on the point. So I was thinking, I am going to, I was like, maybe I block your landing zone with a shore trooper, but they're pinned. So I'd elect to dash the Death Trooper, so he's going to be on the middle point as well. And going to go ahead and take a shot at Riff. Riff has 4 blocks. I get 1 down, so I'll do a damage and disarm. So now I'm thinking, like, okay, we are the storm on that point. But problem is I think this is also still super risky. That it likely, I just don't think it's worth the risk. Like, and I just, we're talking about it, and it's like, we don't know for sure if he could get onto that point, but I'm just pretty confident that he can. And so it's like, all right, well, it was a lot of effort, a lot of discussion, a lot of thought processing, but the end result is just, you know what, like, I don't think there's a world where yeah, I think it just hurts me. Like, he would end up taking no damage and then probably taking the back point from me and actually, like, depriving me of a score. So not worth giving that to him. He pulls Riff, but obviously, like, I wish I had seen the Gideon play. The Gideon play there would have been sweet. And I think that would have been extremely realistic for me to get that done. Because even Veers ended up going 2 down on Riff, and Gideon would have ended up with an extra die. So here's the question, is like, how can Riff take a point? The plus side here is my decision to put the Death Trooper onto the middle does help me here. Because it means that Riff doesn't have an easy, like, take the middle. There's maybe a world where he can go take the right side point. He also can probably just go kill Gideon. So we're just mathing out the plan of shark-related teeth jaws punishment. I do think there's a reasonable chance that he would like a wound here, so that he can recover some force. Riff is disarmed, so he's going to heal the disarm. He spends a force for blood in the water. So he jumps, and I believe he's going to punch my Death Trooper. Poor Death Trooper. Looks like Donovan removed 2 fails. I end up with 4 blocks, as good as I could hope for. So he ends up with 4 hits, 2 crits. I have 4 blocks, so he's only going to go 2 down. So, I mean, I could not be happier. This is... he still gets 6 damage, which will be reduced to 5. Yeah, so he doesn't end up with a kill or a wound. I think there I would have potentially gone after Gideon, I think. Since Gideon was already softened up. That same attack roll would have killed Gideon. Unless Gideon ended up with an extra... No, that would have just he would have just killed Gideon. But he would have to get into melee range of Gideon. So I believe here I didn't flip a card because I'm just choosing to now activate the shore troopers, because I'm like, there's one point I don't have. I might as well just guarantee taking that point. He's engaged, so I'm just kind of like checking like how far can I go. I'm just kind of moving up next to him. I am electing to make attacks here. I don't have the force to do their like push people. First attack, I'm electing to use the coordinated offensive, which I think it might just be one more die. I rolled pretty bad, but his block wasn't that great either. So I'm just going to go one down. Yeah, so I do a pin and a damage, so he just gets pinned. Now the other one's going to punch. I end up going 2 down. It'll be 3 damage reduced to 2, which I believe is after factoring in the pin being reapplied. That does end up ending the struggle. I do think there's a world there where I forgot supporting fire dash on the second one, which could have just put him closer to the point, which I'm not sure is super relevant. Yeah. One option, I'm on everything, or there's one where I'm only on one of them. So obviously Donovan is making the correct choice and doing the one where I'm not scoring everything. If you guys are still watching, you want to respond in the comments. How are you guys feeling about the enlarged dice trays and enlarged score tracker, where I've zoomed in on them a bit to try to give you a little bit better ability to follow that kind of stuff? Trying to like, the goal is like get the dice kind of as large as possible while keeping the mat as large as possible as well. So I did shrink down the size of the cards a little bit. But I feel like for the most part, that is still plenty readable, and enlarging the dice is more important. Yeah. So Shatterpointing the aquas. Just one of them is going to clear the pin, one of them is going to advance or dash. Pretty confident that he's going to kill that poor Death Trooper. I think one walked kind of under the... So I get block, heal. But he is not going to live. So all I'm probably doing is removing a condition. Man, if you haven't played the Aquas yet, they are real good. You should definitely play the Aquas. I know they don't have the flair of Baze and Chirrut, but they have been game in, game out awesome every time I played with or against them. Yeah, so the only condition being put on them was pin, so I'm electing to remove the pin with the heal. And a momentum. I almost gave myself a momentum there. And I was like, oh, no, it's his momentum. Just figuring out who the other one is, who's currently under a gantry. And I was just relaying that my last 2 cards are Stormtrooper Sergeant and Veers. I think this is just a ranged attack into Veers now. So I end up with 5 blocks and a heal. I'm just going to go 2 down. So 3 damage shove. So I'm just putting 2 damage on him because of the heal. Now there's some blood in the water action. Veers is getting punched again. There's going to be 7 dice because there's a wounded Death Trooper and he's also in range of the Short Troopers. Veers has 2 blocks and a heal. So 5 damage shove. Yeah, right here, Donovan's just kind of realizing that like he's not actually getting the aqua to that back point. Yeah. I definitely normally would like give it to someone if there's a way to like do it with minimal rewind, but if he had I think there was a way where he could have finagled that turn to take all of the points. But I'm probably giving him this struggle anyway. I don't think I want to fight over this struggle. So I think his concern here is that he now doesn't really have a way to take the back point. But my logic here is like Riff gets better the longer the game goes on. And so I'm thinking here that I want him to intentionally get to end this second struggle quickly. So I believe I'm going to just immediately start planning on like getting damage spread around and getting my characters onto different points. Because I think, one, you've got limited timing rounds anyway. So I think overly fighting over struggle 2 when you don't need to can be a mistake. Like, obviously, it can backfire on you. But I think if you are utilizing your struggle 2 to just entirely set up for struggle 3, I feel like it should be pretty hard for you to lose it. So he's just talking that he has both of his secondaries left, Django and Nos. So again, I've got this kind of complicated Veers turn. So I dashed a short trooper onto that middle point. I'm wanting to stay outside of range 2 of Riff. So dashing forward. I think here I can go ahead and get a wound on Riff and try to make his life more complicated force-wise. I'm just electing to actually go into melee here. Then we're talking about, I'm like, oh, you're not actually on an objective, so maybe it's not beneficial to do this thing, but it is what I decided to do. So I have 2 crits, 3 expertise, but I'm going to go 3 down. So here's what I'm debating is is it more important for me to get heals on myself or damage on Riff? So I like to do 3 damage, disarm on him, and then get heals on Veers. One of the interesting things about how this list can play out is a lot of Empire lists don't do very much healing, but I was surprised how much of it was happening with Veers and Stormtrooper Sergeant and here, I do think I'm making potentially a mistake. I'm thinking here that Stormtrooper Sergeant doesn't really need a force, but I'm forgetting about he's got the ability to just hand out some status effects, and I think it's potentially a mistake here to use the force this way. I also think I made a mistake because I think I thought in my head that I was doing supporting fire dash, but that would also cost a force. So I end up going 4 down with this shore trooper attack, I believe. So I do end up wounding Riff with that and getting some healing on Gideon. But I do think I cheated there because I think I supporting fire dashed Veers when I would not have had the force for it. In my defense, Death Troopers just died. But yeah, I think I should have paid for the supporting fire dash and then just not worried about that short trooper attack. I just don't think that was an important attack, and I'm happy to kill Riff later on in the next struggle. So he goes ahead and pulls Django. I scored nothing. That's just kind of a question of where can Django go. He was like, I'm thinking about whether or not I want to reserve him, and I was like, bro, I'm still playing Gideon, so you're not reserving him right now. He can definitely go get a kill on DTE, who's got 1 health, but but getting a wound here is probably not optimal for him because I think Donovan already knows I'm giving up on the struggle. And so taking potential wounds away from him in the next struggle is probably not his preference. But he does need to do Django. Here I'm just lamenting that the Aquas still have no damage on them, which I'm just thinking about the number of times that I've attacked them, and between just a little bit of healing and just the way they rolled, I'm like, they're still full? I kept thinking that I was chip damaging them so they would be more reasonable to kill at a certain point, and that was just not the case. So he focuses to jump. Shooting at the DTE. Pretty sure my DTE is about to die. I have 2 blocks. So I believe it's 5 damage, strain, jump. He gains a momentum. My poor Death Trooper Escort is finally wounded, but honestly, Death Trooper Escort was a baller this game. That Stormtrooper was doing his job. So now we're just resolving that he's jumping down. All right. He does end up winning the struggle there. All right. Certainly not the best potential pull for me. Nobody's currently controlling the middle. Either way, I'm giving him 1 point. And so I might as well take the point where Veers is on a point. So I believe Stormtrooper Sergeant is going to be my last card. Rolling priority, it's the fail, so that's Veers' point. Love that. I get the Sergeant. Obviously, I'm thinking Sergeant needs to get to the middle. He's only 1 move, but there's plenty of things to shoot around, and he's got to reposition fairly early on his tree. And he's probably getting at least 2 more dice, depending on the target. There's also a world where I just try to reinforce the back point. We end up doing things just slightly out of order because I'm moving him, but realizing I need to resolve the movement for the movement for his starting ability first. So we'll see. I believe I remember this at some point. Yes, yeah, we're just going, oh, okay, before I actually do that movement, let me go ahead and move my troopers. I was just thinking if the other one can move backwards or not. I appreciate Donovan giving me a break here. I don't play Empire very often, and so I'm just forgetting about... Yeah. So just end up having both of them move towards the middle. And so they're both on there. I believe I do remember to put the damage on the short troopers here in a moment. So a little bit of question of just who to shoot. So he's going to grab Stormtrooper dice. Coordinated offensive. Just seeing if target matters at all for... I believe it's just going to be 2 dice. Yeah, so he gets 1 die from the Death Trooper Escort and 1 die from Death Troopers. Short Trooper just ends up being just a little bit out of that range 5. So I end up with 8 dice. 3 blocks, crit to hit, pretty solid for them. I remove 3 hits and a fail. Expertise becomes crit and a pin. And so we're going to go 4 down plus pin. So pretty solid work here from my Stormtrooper Sergeant. Just thinking about the order of the reposition and the heals here. There's an argument you could make for putting the Stormtrooper Sergeant on the back point with Veers, but I know the last activation for him is going to be Nos. And so there's definitely a world of just reinforcing, just making sure he cannot take the middle. Four damage reduced to 3. 2 shoves. Resolving my follow-up shove. Then I get to reposition. I elected go towards the middle because I just don't believe that Nos is going to have any effect on the back point. So we flip that one over because that one's not active anymore. Resolve the other shove. Overall, I'm happy with that Stormtrooper Sergeant activation. And then I score 3 points. Get to refresh my force. So pull Nos. This is here. The problem here is like Nos's ability to take a point is extremely restricted. Here I do remember to put the damage on the shore troopers because we're kind of talking like, is there a world where Nos can kill the stormtroopers? But I believe the math is that them having protection, that Nos just literally cannot do it. He just does not have enough damage. I do believe here that I think because I did obviously it seems like I made a misplay in the second struggle, that I would have had to try to kill Riff with the Stormtrooper Sergeant activation, instead of shooting the Aqua. I don't remember if that will come into play here, but like there is a world where like, does Nos moving Riff, if Riff had been alive here and hadn't been wounded yet, would that have changed the play here? But I don't think so, because he would have still had to kill the shore troopers, even with getting Riff onto that point and be able to score. Or Riff is already there. So, yeah, I'm not sure yeah, but we'll just talk about things from the way the game state is here. So it's kind of a tough Nos spot because he's just like hard to affect points. So he dashes himself with the tactic. And so just kind of checking to see like who all is going to be in range of who. We were just kind of going like, is there any world where Nos could get the attack? The problem is that the range where maybe he gets into 4, he would be in engagement, so he wouldn't be able to shoot at Veers. I was thinking with Veers being softened up, there is a world where he could kill Veers, but just with everybody clustered in the middle, there doesn't look like there's a spot where he could potentially get into range and then not be engaged with someone. So I think here we're just talking like maybe the play is just focus, shoot at the shore troopers, see how much you get done. We just had forgotten to give me the 3 points. Yep, he's going to focus, Riptide. So 9 dice into my shores. Pretty solid roll for him. I end up with 1 block. So I believe he is full treeing, but it is just not mathematically enough to kill them. Oh, poor shore troopers. Getting beat up is your job. Six damage, I believe, disarm and pin. So it's 6 reduced to 5. And he does have a reposition. He's just kind of contemplating, is like, do I move backwards to try to reinforce Asajj's point? But yeah, so he's just going to get up on the middle, even though that doesn't score him a point. This is one of the things I talk about in a lot of the videos, is like when you end up activating Nos does end up being very significant. Middle is the point again. I get DTE. That's I'm like, definitely no need to reserve here. He's a character who's not currently contesting any points and can potentially take a point for me. His chance to shove her off a point is not crazy. So doesn't seem like there's much reason to worry about reserving. Gotta stay rarely reserved. You know, Omnis. So I believe I remove disarm, but I'm still exposed. Or no, I think they had put strain on me. So I remove the strain. I think I might be still disarmed. So now I do have a dash to resolve somewhere. So here I'm just asking him, like, is the Stormtrooper Sergeant within range 5 of Asajj? It looks like not. So I'm going to reposition the... I think the shores may have been pinned there, so it would have just been only one of them got to move. Easy thing to forget. I think I would have just left the closer one right where he was at, which is pretty close to where one is at now, and then move the other one into range for the bonus dice. I am going to go ahead and spend... So I elect to heal off the disarm and then spend 2 force for the dash and focus. Just because, like, you could definitely argue that maybe you don't make that play, but I'm not wanting this to go on for very long. But because she has riposte, I'm like, well, I'm only scoring this point if I shove you off anyway, so I'm going to dash backwards outside of melee range and do this as a range attack. Three blocks for Asajj. Got 3 expertise, which will become a crit and a damage. So it ends up being 3 down. So it'll be 3 damage, 2 shoves, and a disarm. Just trying to resolve a shove under a gantry. Just kind of get him a little closer to the point. Not sure moving him closer was a good idea, but just trying to like rack up points here and just like hope that it's not enough for Donovan to make a comeback. Fail is the back point where Veers is at. He reveals Riff. So we're talking about, is this a point where he still just accepts, pays the 2 force? But what we're kind of discussing here is this a winnable game for him if he only takes 1 point? Like, so if he activates Riff, kills Veers, scores 2. Is it still a reasonably winnable game, or is it just too much odds that I can just close out the game next turn? Does he have to make a play for something bigger? And the reality is he probably does need to. But the problem is he probably needs Shatterpoint, Aquas, or Weakways. So he is going to elect to reserve, and he does get the Aquas. So that's perfect for him. Yeah. I think there's really good potential here for the Aquas. They are pinned, but I don't think that's going to be super relevant. I think he's still going to be able to get everything he wants out of this. Well, not maybe everything, but I think he has at least the potential to score 3, which can give him the chance to get back in this. So just kind of like figuring out some positioning. You definitely don't want to rush a play like this. It's important to get where they need to go. So he's saying that the first guy is getting rid of pin. Now resolving the focus, the dash and focus. Yeah, so he's got 1 on Veers, and he's got 1 on my shores. Veers is just 2 blocks and a heal, so I'm not expecting him to live. But he does. But because he got to the other side of me, he still is able to shove me off the point. So I just end up healing back 1 damage. Shore Trooper, who has, 2 health? Yeah, they're dead. Uh, 3 damage shove. I think he's just, I'm not sure if that was a shove or dash forward, but either way, he's taking that middle point. Now it's just a question of, is he spending force for Riff? He is in position to potentially kill Veers. He spent a force for Blood in the Water, but I think he would have gotten a force back for killing the shore troopers. So I think he would have 1 more force here. 3 blocks and a heal. He gets another wound. I mean, 2 wounds and score 3, that's, about as good as you could hope for there. So, middle, I have Stormtrooper Sergeant still alive. He has Aquas and Nos. So here I'm thinking, if I bring back the Death Troopers and the Death Troopers can kill the Aquas and score 4, I believe it is game over. Yeah, I am going there is a little bit of a concern here that if I go all in on this plan and spend a bunch of force for it, that maybe if I don't get it, it could be pretty bad. Because I'm splitting them up, and if I don't get the kill and I don't score either of those points, that it literally might end the game for me. I am gonna get, but I'm 2 force to try to close out the game is probably worth it. So dashing there, and you can go basically down through a gantry. You can't go down through terrain, but gantries, if you resolve a movement, not a shove, you can choose to go down. So they focus up to 7, and then they get 1 from Gideon, so I believe I'm rolling 8. And then the first one is going to get +2 dice from Stormtrooper Offensive. I'm doing the guy who's under the gantry. I believe it's going to be 3 blocks crit to hit. Or 2 blocks crit to hit. So I go 3 down on this one with 10 dice. That is definitely not the way I wanted to start this. So I do 4 damage pin, reduced to 3. So now, resolving the other attack, nothing really to add in. He has 3 blocks. My 1 expertise becomes 2 hits. It's weird. In the moment I said I go 3 down, but there's 2 dice left in the tray. So if I did go 3 down, then it didn't matter that there was bonus damage on them. So that does close out the game. Because I spent an extra force in the first shuffle because I forgot about supporting fire, I do think that potentially could have shifted the outcome in the game and it could have swung his way. But it's really easy to miss simple things like that. A good kind of reference point for us is just kind of like keep that kind of stuff in mind. Make sure you're, when you use those abilities, you're double checking, where none of us are, kind of immune to these mistakes. And so, yeah. But overall, I love playing games with Donovan. He's a very strong player. Always kind of tests me. I like the list that he comes up with. Kind of my overall thoughts afterwards is, unfortunately, I feel like Asajj was holding back his team overall. I think if that had been almost anyone else who could have been in that slot, it would have been stronger overall for him. But I respect that he wanted to try her. And I really would love to find a great list for her. And maybe this was just not the right situation and it could have worked out better for her. So I'm not saying to not try Asajj more, but I have to be honest because I have been talking up Veers, and I've got to be kind of honest. Like it's not everybody can compete in the meta, and I'm just not sure Asajj is there. I like the buff that she got, and it definitely at least makes her a touch more playable. But I just feel like she's a step behind things at the moment. But maybe there's the right list out there, and I just haven't thought of it. Overall, in this Veers list, I was able to come out ahead, but I was so nervous this entire game. I don't think I like this version of the list. No disrespect to Pure. I love you, buddy. I think I prefer my version with the ISF, where I'm just guaranteeing to take 4 points to start things off, even though it means that I'm not utilizing the bonus defense dice. Like I said, I came out on top of this, but very nervous. And I just never felt in like control of the game really kind of at any point. And it just like every time the Aqu was activated, I felt like I was wondering if I was going to be able to make it work. But again, huge shout out to Donovan for allowing me to record the game. Donovan, I love playing with you, buddy. And shout out to Mox for letting me record games in the store on our hangout day. This one definitely had better lighting than the prior two. And so again, let me know if you guys are liking the kind of new layout and such. I would like to keep doing these videos and keep trying to focus on some different primaries, showcase how you can play them if you're excited about that particular character. My overall closing thoughts on Veers is that I'm probably going to take a break from him. He wasn't the most enjoyable for me to play personally, but I do think that there's value in playing Veers in this meta. And he's got some good stuff going on. Not necessarily his bomb, but his starting reserve mechanic is very strong, and I overall do like his activations and find them interesting. So if you want to play Empire, I think there's something there with Veers. Take that with a grain of salt, because I am certainly not an Empire expert, but my gut says that there's something there. Overall, also, you should try Riff. Riff is super fun. But I'll just close out things here and just say, keep watching, nerds. I appreciate you. Later.